All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Simeon. I'm the co-founder and CEO of MoneyUp. And I'd just like to start off by saying that I believe myself to be a quite determined entrepreneur. My first project started when I was in 8th grade, which is Charger. It was this elaborate idea to have a national electric vehicle charging network. At that point, I had a feeling that electric vehicles would be big, but I could only go so far. I was an 8th grader. I then continued to build throughout my entire high school career with Traverse, which was an immersive VR experience, which I found during COVID quite timely. But that also didn't expand into what I wanted it to, but I learned a lot about building technical solutions for specific problems. And then lastly was Quazala, which was my more recent company which was a e-commerce platform specifically designed for specialty food products. I managed to scale that up to dozens of merchants and thousands of products, and eventually exited that company during my freshman year of college. And so throughout this entire period of time, I've learned a ton about being an entrepreneur, learning how to solve specific problems, and just enduring through the entire process of being an entrepreneur. And so when I got to college my freshman year, after I sold my previous company, I realized that there was an issue that not only affected me, but a lot of the people around me, which was payments. The way that money moves within the college campus and the college ecosystem, it's slow, it's outdated, and it's a pain for each party that's involved. So specifically, the culprit is university debit. So university debit affects students, merchants, and schools in various ways. The first is the student. Typically, they're stuck using their ID card to make transactions both on and off campus. And additionally, they don't typically like to use these solutions because once they put money onto their university debit provider, they can't take their money off. So if I'm a student and I don't like the options available and I put in a couple $1,000s, I'm kind of stuck, which leads to a high hesitancy from students to actually utilize these solutions. Next, it's the merchants because they have to utilize tedious third-party point-of-sale solutions to accept ID card-based payments, which is really a pain on their part. And additionally, it takes up to 3 weeks for them to actually recognize the revenue. So if I'm a merchant and I sell a cup of coffee, it's going to take up to 3 weeks to get that money because that money first has to go to the school, then to the service provider, and then back to the merchant. And then lastly, it's the school. They're left paying for all of this. Typically, these solutions cost the schools between a couple $10,000 per year up to a couple $100,000 a year. And typically, a school wants to implement these solutions to see a return on their investments. They want to see students utilizing it, but as of right now, it just doesn't happen. And so with this understanding, we built MoneyUp. MoneyUp is reimagining the way money moves and payments within the university ecosystem. So up front, we have MoneyUp, which is our consumer-facing product. This enables students to create an account. They're able to spend both on and off campus with MoneyUp Pay, which is our in-app wallet payment method where they can directly and instantaneously pay merchants. And then second is the MoneyUp Visa debit card, which enables students to spend anywhere where Visa is accepted. And then secondly, beyond the payment methods that we provide to students, students are also able to earn through the in-app reward system that encourages students to spend and save on the platform, grants them points, and they can redeem these points for gift cards at various popular brands that a student would typically be spending at. Next, it's MoneyUp Connect, and this is the backend that the schools and businesses would use to enable them to accept payments through the digital point-of-sale solution. It also gives them a full suite of analytics so that they can manage their students, their customers, and view transaction and card spend information. And then lastly, it enables the schools to participate in a shared revenue program that grants the school access to interchange generated on student spend, which is a cut of each transaction. And so MoneyUp ideally scales through the partnerships that we have directly with the universities. And so right now we're working to finalize our first MSA with Rutgers University, and we have a few other institutions currently within our sales pipeline. We also have partnerships with the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce as well as the African American Chamber of Commerce to enable us to connect with small businesses that are ideally located within college towns. And beyond just the partnerships that we have with schools, we also enable students and users regularly to utilize MoneyUp itself. And so we maintain a strong social media presence, strong SEO and ASO policies for App Store as well as on the web generally. And then lastly, within the actual app itself, there's an in-app gamified referral system that encourages users to send it and share it with their friends, and they're rewarded by doing so. And so compared to existing alternatives in this $360 billion space, including Atrium, Transact, and Agilysys, we made sure to design our platform to beat them out first on cost to deploy. We don't charge schools any implementation fees. Typically right now, per year. That's $10,000 to $20,000 per school, which depends on the size, of course. And we also have scaling fees that kind of adjust to the size of the school. Additionally, we offer schools the ability to actually earn revenue compared to the alternatives. Other university debit solutions do not give schools the benefit of making any form of money utilizing them. And so that's another way in which we beat out schools in terms of return on investment for their spend. And then we also make sure that when schools look to implement these solutions, we have everything that they're already used to in terms of implementation and maintenance, student engagement, which we believe we absolutely beat the other competitors off on because students are engaged to utilize this. And then lastly is security. We have an additional benefit that everything within MoneyUp is FDIC insured because we work with partner banks. And so overall, on average, MoneyUp helps students earn up to $480 per year in terms of rewards. We help businesses and merchants save up to 3 weeks when it comes to revenue recognition. And then lastly, we help schools, on average, the average school is around 7,500 students, save up to $88,000 each year in terms of university debit fees, and then earn up to $75,000 in terms of the interchange generated off of student spend, which nets them around $150,000 each year on average. And so our business model is designed to be fairly resilient against some financial trends. And so we first make sure to charge schools a per user per month fee, which scales to the size of the school, making sure that that financial incentive is on their side as well compared to the existing solutions. And we also take around 2% on both of the payment methods that we provide for students. So first, against that MoneyUp Pay, we take 2% since we're the ones who are actually settling that transaction. And then on average, with that Visa debit card that we issue to each user, it's around 2% that we're getting from each transaction. And then finally, we earn 50% of the federal funds rate on the entire platform deposits, which right now sits at around 5.54%. And so in terms of traction, we've been pretty busy over the past couple of quarters with various iterations in the product, and we built up our platform to cater to around 1,300 users in total. Through the first 2 beta programs with this, we've again grown a bit, and then the second iteration actually had financial services embedded, so we had that financial partnership with our bank. We were able to issue cards to a small group of people to make sure that our platform is built securely and performed accurately. And right now, we're continuing to grow our waitlist of users and students. And then again, like I said earlier, we're finalizing our first MSA with Rutgers University, and we have a few other institutions, including TCNJ, within our current pipeline, and finishing up some final bank due diligence to make sure, again, we have all the green lights and approvals from our bank partners. And so this is the current founding team, myself, Krish, and Nishay. We all have experience building products. Like I said in the beginning, I've had multiple projects and companies in the past. I've sold one. Krish and Nishay have experience building within the financial space as well. Nishay, especially our CTO, has experience working within Y Combinator-backed companies, leading their product and tech teams. So it's enabled us to build quickly, efficiently, and accurately throughout this entire product phase, which is something that you don't typically find within the financial technology ecosystem. People our age building stuff like this, which is pretty cool to see. All right, and so for some key financial metrics that I wanted to share, our cost of acquiring a user is around $1.05. We're going to continue to drive that cost down, but right now that includes KYC, so know your customer, making sure that each person that comes onto our platform is who they are. It's also card issuance, so each time we issue a card to a user, there is a small cost associated with that as well. Right now, our customer lifetime value is $260 per user, with the average revenue per user per month sitting at around $5.42. We're looking to drive both of those numbers up over the next couple of quarters through the inclusion of various other embedded financial tools for students, but we're also focusing on the business side of it. So schools and businesses, increasing the tooling that we provide to them is something that we're also focused on as well. And then right now, our current customer ROI is around 1.5 months on average before we make the money back from that cost of acquiring a user. So we have a pretty quick turnaround in terms of that investment. And then right now, in terms of each new school brought on to our platform through those partnerships, we're seeing around an increase of 6,300 students per school, which is pretty great. And then finally, our current cash burn is around $1,500 per month with some variable cost of goods sold. Again, that's KYC, that's card issuance, that's ACH, or moving money on and off of the platform as well. And so finally, with the cash prize, we're looking to deploy that in really 2 core areas of our business. The first is development through the hiring of a back-end developer to improve our platform stability, load management, as well as just general scalability, making sure that we can provide to all of the students that we're looking to onboard onto our platform within the next quarter or 2, making sure that they all get a really great experience and making sure that there's no issues whatsoever there. And then finally, covering some of those costs of goods sold to make sure that, again, as we continue to bring on some users, we're able to actually afford bringing them on, paying for KYC, paying for card issuance, and stuff like that. So with that, thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Thanks, Alex. So on market size, you quoted $360 billion, but can you share a little bit more about what's included in that number? Is that all Gen Z spend, or is that just debit card purchases on college campuses?
Yes, so I have a slide here. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so that's the annual spending power for college students and Gen Z, ideally focusing in on the first 3 years, so freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. We typically find that seniors are going to spend their, outside of that, but it's typically just the spending power that we've identified as the money moving from college student to businesses on and off campus.
But in their geographic areas, not like Amazon.
No, so that's just generally speaking the way in which college students spending money. So we do offer the ability to spend on campus with Money Up Pay, which is direct within the actual product itself. But we do also offer that debit card, so we're able to make sure that we can funnel the spend to those other areas, whether that's on or off campus as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Alex, thanks so much. I love to see how this has grown. And a couple of questions for you. One, do you see ever taking this beyond college? I mean, when you have a captive audience already that is using your product, and then, you have to pass the fire out when they graduate,
Yeah.
What do you see happening there?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've recognized, talking to colleges, specifically within Rutgers, one of the questions that we got is this limited to just students? Can other entities or organizations launch a very similar product? And the answer is yes. All we're doing is pretty much creating a closed loop ecosystem so anybody can really take it, kind of change the skin on it and give it to somebody else. And so eventually, yes, that's the plan, is to kind of get out of the college space, but there's just so much space to grow and constant spend, which is why for us it makes sense as a consumer-facing business, because we do better when more people spend, and college students spend a ton. And so that's really our core focus right now, but it can be applied and changed up to various use cases as well.
And I'm just curious because, having it differentiated within college is also great. So
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to push you. I was just curious.
Absolutely.
And then what is when you're marketing this, how are you marketing this to colleges?
Yeah, so at the early stages, one of the benefits is that I'm a student, so I've been able to get those meetings with those key decision makers within a matter of days. I think when I was speaking to Rutgers, it took like 8 days to get a meeting with the deans. And so as of right now, it's just the existing network that I've pre-built and just directly reaching out. But the way in which we look to scale beyond the New Jersey market is utilizing Rutgers as that kind of stepping stone and moving across the Big Ten strategically. So making sure that we can perform within one of the larger schools within the Big Ten enables us to look to the other schools and say, hey, we've performed at the biggest one of the bigger ones. We can bring you the same solution, help you save a ton of money in the process, and encourage your students to actually utilize your university debit solution.
And what is the position that you can look to connect with at a university to try to get in?
So it's ideally, I guess there's two positions. One is the whatever dean or head of student engagement. Typically, when you kind of position it from that side, they're the ones who are utilizing or kind of championing these solutions the most. And the others, it's the deans, because once you have that kind of green light from the top, it's kind of like, okay, we kind of understand that this is kind of a good solution to implement. Yeah.
So you have more entrepreneurial experience with businesses than I think most people your age,
Right.
With the amount of companies you've worked with. I'm curious what you've learned from the previous companies you've worked with or run that makes you a different entrepreneur today.
I think it's just my determination and my ability to just keep going. I spend most of my time, if not every waking free time I have, just working on this and continuing to improve and just learning as well. I've surrounded our team and the company itself with people who are already, building in the space. And one of the things that you mentioned is my age. Like, I understand that I'm very young within this area, and so I've surrounded my team with advisors who have their own companies. They've led multi-billion-dollar companies, and so just continuously learning is probably the biggest thing, as well as my determination to keep going, because my age is a fact. It leads to a lot of no's, I would say, just kind of hesitancy, but continuing to improve and learn and make sure that when I go into meetings with bank partners or for other financial partners, it's that I may be young, but I know a lot more than most people would. And I learn through the people I surround myself with, and then just continuously building and learning within the space as well.
Nice presentation. Good job. I see you have a team of C-level people on your team. How do you manage the team dynamics between yourself, your CTO, and CFO? Can managing the executive team is also a bit of part of an entrepreneur. Like, what is your strategy to manage your team?
Yeah, so it's just constant communication, I think is probably the key, at least that for our team dynamic, it's just constant communication. Every day we call each other, make sure we're all on the same page. So just understanding what our general roadmap looks like, making sure we're hitting our internal timelines and milestones is pretty key for us. And just being honest and open. I think that's not something that most people talk about, but we've made sure to make sure that the relationship that we have between each other is just as friends really first, because that way we understand what it is that the other person's strengths and weaknesses are, and it helps us move a lot quicker than most other teams I would suspect. Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. That was great. What do you see as the biggest challenge to growth, and how do you plan to address that?
I would say it's probably sales within schools, I would say. Luckily for us at the beginning, and because I've been able to utilize my network within Rutgers, we've been able to kind of sidestep that a little bit at the beginning. But selling into schools is typically a hard thing to do. But luckily for our business model and our business structure overall, we don't have that. Our cost of goods sold and our overall operational costs are not that high. And so even with one institution, we're able to pretty much get close to profitability from day one, which is great. But continuing to scale the business within other schools takes some time, especially if you don't have that pre-built network and familiarity with the key decision makers at that institution. And in terms of overcoming that, I think it's just looking to existing examples of success as we continue to deploy within Rutgers and the other New Jersey-based schools, using that as a case study for other schools and saying, hey, you have this solution, you already implement it, but look at what we did with a larger institution. We can do the same thing, if not better, for your school. And just using that as a sale prop for the other institutions is how we're looking to overcome it. But yeah, I think the biggest thing overall is probably selling into schools, I would say.
It's a great presentation, thank you. What's the ramp-up time? So if you want to get a school set up for next school year, I imagine they're not going to start until August or
Yeah.
July. There's no onboarding in the middle of the school year. How far in advance do you need how long do these conversations take to get a school onboarded? And how many schools are you at right now? How many schools do you think you'll be at next year, starting in August? I think that'd be helpful to take us through that.
Right, yeah. So as of right now, it's one Rutgers University. And that process took, I think that speaking directly with the institution took around 4 weeks to a month or so. And then we do have to go through our bank partner to make sure that they're okay with the immediate influx of users, because when we create a bunch of accounts and issue a bunch of cards, they need to be sure that you have the right KYC policies put in place and anti-money laundering policies put in place to, again, protect the bank, because at the end of the day, they want to make sure that the users on their platform are who they say they are. And that process typically takes 2 weeks. It's getting shorter because they know what policies and structures we have put in place as of right now, so it gets quicker over time. And then within our current pipeline, there are 4 other institutions, or 3 institutions. The 4th one is kind of iffy. We're still working on that as we speak. So we have a few, but as of right now, that's like the general picture of how it is. If I missed a part of your question, if you want to repeat it.
So for next school year, starting in August,
Yeah.
how many schools do you think you'll be at? Rutgers as the beta and other schools, or just Rutgers?
I think by then, ideally 3. So TCNJ, we're currently moving somewhat quickly with them,
Sure.
as well as NJIT. So those are 2 other institutions. And I'd say Rutgers kind of maybe 4, because Rutgers Newark as well. I don't know, we kind of like to group it together. But yeah, overall 3. Ideally, for sure, Rutgers, and then other 2, NJIT and TCNJ, by upcoming fall semester.
Got it, that's great, thank you.
Yeah.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
My question is, when you have to onboard a new student,
Yeah.
is your online the onboarding process and the KYC, is that all online, or do you need any offline documentation and stuff like that?
Yeah, so it's done when the student downloads the app, they go through, they put in their information, takes a matter, it's like less than a minute for them to download and then get into an account. They then have to connect their account to their school, but that's a very similar process to signing into your email. We just make sure that the student has their email, so my rutgers.edu email, I sign in, we utilize the school's own infrastructure for that, so there's no there's no heavy lift on our side. We just use their SAML existing infrastructure to do that very quickly. We make sure that the student is, who they say they are. They go to this school. We connect that student account to the school, and they're good to go. So overall, probably from end to end, if the student's pretty quick with typing, probably get it done in like 2.5 minutes, maybe.